We live? We live? I think we are live. Here we go. Let's get the confirmation. Believe we're live. Alright, here we go. So, I think the best thing that I can actually do is probably explain to people what Stoptober is, because while it's a massive thing in the UK, and it has been for a fair few years now, I can't remember when it first got introduced, but probably around the time that they started trying to change like smoking distribution and stuff. So, for anyone that doesn't know, Stoptober is I guess it's a government kind of funded scheme. It's in association with the NHS, and it's using October, which I believe is 28 days in October. I could be completely wrong on that, but it's 31 days. But it's using the first 28 and getting through all of October to actually use it as an opportunity to quit smoking. I don't know why they decided to choose this month, but they did. And as someone that stopped smoking earlier in the year, I have not smoked in 4 months, 25 days, and 19 hours. And someone that has smoked since the age of 13, I thought that this would be a very good conversation to have with people because it being so recent. And I've tried in previous times, but this seems to be the one that's going to stick. I'm so much closer to 6 months now than I ever thought I would get to, and I thought it would be a good opportunity for me to connect with people and talk about how to quit smoking, and hopefully not just really how to quit smoking, but how to overcome any form of sort of addiction and the kind of things that helped me get through this situation. I actually have the chat up like this, and yeah, that's one thing. I'm going to be removing the cigar emoji just for the sake of this month, to show like solidarity with anyone that is trying to quit. But as I'm saying, it's not just about stopping smoking. It's about giving up anything. You can use Stoptober pretty much for anything, even if the focus is on smoking. So I thought that I'd just do, I'd lay it out like this. We do a little introduction. This is what I'm doing. I'm telling you what Stoptober is, what it's all about. And then I talk a little bit about why I would smoke. Then I talk about why I quit smoking. And then the things that actually help me get through quitting. And then I'll take some questions, people's tips and advice as well. If there's anyone in the chat that has actually, you know, overcome any form of addiction and stuff, your opinion is just as welcomed into this as well. And if there's anyone that's got something in their life they'd sort of like to cut out and feels, you know, comfortable enough to talk about it, then we are all going to be here and be supportive for that person, and maybe they can use Stoptober to help themselves out as well. And at the end of it all, we'll sort of just look at what the NHS has to offer for people across the board, and the kind of advice that they give to people to stop smoking, and just some of the positives and effects that actually come with stopping smoking. Matt C, welcome to the crew, man. Welcome to the crew, good friend. I see that Google survey thing. You said you was like 2 pence off or something. There we go. We're through. That Google survey money, thank you so much. Look at that, abusing the system to come back. But yeah, so that's pretty much what we're doing today. I hope that's okay with everyone. As far as Infamous goes, I'll be streaming Infamous throughout the rest of the evenings, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I've almost got most of Chinatown completely clear as far as all of the extra activities and stuff, and I think I'm around 60% through the game now, so that seems like there's not too much story left over, but it does mean we'll be able to just sort of focus in on the story as much as possible. So yeah, a little bit of a different stream and stuff. If anyone wants to say their hellos now, please go ahead and do it. I'm just going to do a quick run through of everyone in the chat so far. That's what we do on every single stream. I hope you like the setup that I've got designed for the layout currently. I think it works pretty well for what we're going to be doing here. So, Mod says, Josh says, I'm going to stop asking for mod. Good to have you in the chat, Josh. We got Garrett in here. We got Thomas We got we got Thomas on modding duties currently, who's been doing a great job. We got Abdul, we got Words, we got Hillary. Good to have you all. We got Rodney, the Red Mage, who says Buenos tardes, fellas conduits. Buenos tardes, mi amigo. We also have Amsel. Good to have you, bro. We got Mario, who said I quit smoking since the month of May, which is an incredible achievement. Well done, sir. Much praises to you. We got Rama, who was asking about Mafia. Don't worry about Mafia. I know. You're not playing in playing Mafia today. You said you would in yesterday's stream. Yeah, but we've got other things to talk about today, you know. So it is what it is. And I was taking care of a bunch of other stuff. My logo came through, so I've been working on a bunch of branding and all of that kind of stuff. I do apologize massively. Someone said I quit McDonald's, but now I've taken to eating KFC twice a day. Thank you very much, Airborne Assassin. That's not any healthier for you, but you know, it's your life, bro. If you want to do that, go ahead and do that. The whole point in this stream, of course, and the whole point, I think one of the major points in general about stopping people, like about quitting and so on and so forth, is like look, right? Obviously, yeah, there's a lot wrong with being addicted to anything, but at the same time, there's nothing wrong with if you have an addiction in your life, because it's something that you can change and combat. I think that's one of the most impressive things about like anyone's situation is, you know, ultimately you can turn it around. So never feel like you're a complete victim to your circumstance, because you know it's something that you can overtake. But we have Eric in the chat. Eric and Ballistics and Matt C, you all got your monthly members colors going on. We got Jessamy Worms, who's got the silver one right there. Dan O'Shea as well with the silver membership badge as well. Massive love. Jessamy is actually a close friend. She went with the hypnotherapy approach, and she hasn't smoked in 13 months. And I'll tell you what, yeah, I'm sure you won't mind me saying this, Jess. We both smoked like chimneys, like legitimately, like all the time, like ridiculously. Especially when we worked together in general. I can't think of how much times we all spent on that balcony, but probably way more than we did actually working a lot of the time. But yeah, so like, you know, I think that's one of those things that a lot of non-smokers get really annoyed about, is like the abuse of power that smokers have within workplaces. A lot of the time, you know, they're just going out for a cigarette and no one stops them for some reason, because it's like an addiction, and they'd rather not have their workers like tilted for the rest of the day and stuff. I don't know, maybe that's just where we worked. It is what it is. Is this Thomas as well? Thomas says, ha ha ha, what's that? I don't know, Thomas. What is the question about? Are we questioning Stoptober? Also, just want to sort of apologize, not massively apologize, but like, I know that the title of this is a bit too self-helpy. I don't want us to come across like a douchebaggy self-help thing. This is just a nice space where we can sort of all give advice and, you know, talk about why we do these things and how we get over these sort of things, you know? So I hope that works out as well. You know, I just thought it was like probably the best title I could come up with, kind of thing. So, with all of that being said, I don't know if anyone wants me to, like, just run some, Debbie, how's it going? Good to have you. I don't know if anyone wants me to just sort of like run some sort of like beats quietly in the background or something. I don't know if that would like maybe like help with the mood. But I think the first thing to talk about is as I stated, right? So I was smoking in general since the age of 13. That doesn't mean like every single day, but that's around the time I started, right? And I'm 30 years old now. A lot of people say to me like, oh, Bam, you must have looked after yourself to look so young and blah. Nope, not at all, man. I was smoking like a chimney. I was eating bad. I still eat badly anyway. A lot of snacks and so on and so forth, and a lot of takeaways and things like that, you know. So it's not, I don't know. I've been lucky. I've not smoked away my face, luckily, because this is the money maker. But yeah, we've got Craig Stewart in the chat. We got Eric saying I'm replaying through Bloodborne, and the streams were helping me get motivated for it. Hope we see the end of the Bama stream. Don't worry too much about that, man. I'm pretty sure Bloodborne's going to make a return before the PS5. I've been speaking about this. But the main reason, I'm not going to sit here and talk about like why I got into smoking, because at the end of the day, if you end up with some form of an addiction, whether you count it as an addiction or not at the time and you can't see it or so on and so forth, the how you got into it is not always as important as how you actually used it when you were on it, right? So for me, what I thought would be the best thing to do is actually talk about why I would smoke, like, do you know what I mean? And when I would smoke, like, so first things first, right? For me, smoking, and let me be clear, I'm not talking about just cigarettes in this, I'm talking about weed as well. I got to a point where I was smoking an ounce of weed a week. That's 28 grams, and then on top of that, tobacco in the spliff, because that's pretty much, you know, how we smoke out here. So then on top of that, you're smoking through like a 30-gram bag of tobacco as well, which means you've got an addiction to the high and you've got an addiction to the nicotine, right? That is a lot for any one person to be smoking through. I was a literal cloud. You think my hair looks cloudy now? I was a literal cloud, right? Now, the why. I stopped smoking when I stopped drinking. I think that's a key thing I'm going to talk about as well. There seems to definitely be a knock-on effect with when you smoke, right? There seems to be a knock-on effect with when you smoke and stuff. So for me, the high ultimately is escapism, you know? I think that's the easiest way to put it. It means that you just don't have to focus with the day. Let's be real. I feel like the reason I smoked more and more in recent times, especially towards the start of this year, and is a big reason why I decided to cut it out. But I think what really was a massive contributing factor is I was pretty much in a lot of states that I wasn't 100% happy with, but at the same time, if I could just be high and phase it out, then I wouldn't really think about it too much, you know, which is like, you know, massive sort of, it's a massive way of distracting yourself from your own situations. It's meaning that you don't have to actually like engage with a lot of life. You know, it gets to a point where you're like, oh, I'm gonna step out to the shops. I'm gonna have a spliff first. You know, oh, I'm gonna wake up and tackle the day. I'm gonna have a spliff first. Oh, I'm gonna go to work. I'm gonna have a spliff first. All of this kind of thing, right? Exactly. Like Rodney's saying, unplugging from the matrix. I would be very interested to know, how people's sort of personal like reasons and sort of habits were with any sort of addiction they had. I know there's a massive side of addiction for a lot of people, and I see it around all of the time, is people have a drink with everything. I was pretty much the same, but it was with smoking weed. So exactly, like Matt's saying, it's like, oh, I'm cooking my food, I better have a spliff before I have the food, so I feel nice and high and hungry to eat it, and it tastes better. Then you finish eating the meal, and you're like, you know what, I better have a smoke afterwards, just to help process and get this down me properly, you know, help the stomach rest, and so on and so forth. It literally becomes a self-perpetuating routine and addiction. I remember when I was a lot younger, someone that was like an older to me was saying it's really bad. I've got to the point where I use it as a self-reward system, but the things that I reward myself for are things that literally you're just meant to get on with anyway. Like, and he was in a similar place years and years before me. He's like, oh, you know, I've woken up, I better have a spliff for doing so, you know? I better have a smoke now. And I know that's how a lot of people also use cigarettes as well. It's like, oh, I've got to make a business call or whatever. I've got to speak to a client. I've got to process this. I better have a cigarette before. Oh, I'm gonna go into the cinema, or I'm gonna go out to this thing where I can't smoke like indefinitely, you know? So I'm gonna make sure I have my smoke now. And then I'm going to come straight out and I'm going to smoke it again. But then at the same time, you can be in a situation where you get on a flight for 12 hours and you just deal with it. You know, this is one of the key things that I think we have to really acknowledge when we're talking about smoking as an addiction. You create all of these situations. And I know for a lot of people it's the same, where it's literally, you're talking like, you know, oh, it's the end of the day and I'll just have one. And make no mistake, if you're in a situation where you just have one every so often, you're in a lot better state than most hardcore stoners, you know? Like, you know, like there's some people that can just have a smoke at the weekend, at the end of the week and stuff, and they go about their life. That's fine, like, in my opinion, you know? It's only when you get to a point where you feel like it's an absolute problem within your life. And to me, like I'm saying, if you're smoking for every single task throughout the day, or you're smoking to help yourself with reality, essentially, then you're probably in a place where it's a big problem. You know? And this is the thing, right? Mario raises a good point. You do those things because they give you a relaxing feeling. But then you get to a point, right? And this is another reason why I would smoke, where you're almost creating situations that feel more stressful so you can relax yourself later on. Like, everything suddenly becomes a bigger problem because your body wants to justify the smoking in that situation, You're like, oh man, it's been a rough day, I'm gonna smoke twice as heavy, Or you're like, oh, I've got so much, like I'm saying again, you look at the future and you pre-plan it, you're like, oh, I'm gonna go and have to do this today, so I better make sure I get my smoking now. Fuck it, I'm gonna have 2 just to make sure I know my body feels like I've got through that situation, Someone says weed's better than alcohol, though I've never got addicted to it. Again, this is it. This is what I'm saying. There's people that can literally just smoke once in a while and stuff, and then it's fine. Like it's not an addiction in that shape or form. Like if it's once a week, it's just in the same way you're not an alcoholic if you have maybe 1 or 2 drinks a week. But especially living in Britain, there's a lot of people that ultimately are drinking every single day. But it's standardized as a normal thing because it's not seen as highly, alcoholism isn't seen as a massive addiction for a lot of people because it's not quote unquote illegal. Like a lot of people associate the fact that it's a quote unquote illegal drug with it being the addiction. But the government is same with like smoking cigarettes, because you can go and buy them from a regular shop. A lot of people won't acknowledge that as being an actual addiction to something, The addiction comes from, as Jeffrey's saying and stuff, when you use reasons to find yourself, like you justify everything you're doing through your actions, You make it okay for yourself. Oh, I've had a tough day, I'm gonna go and finish a bottle of wine every day. I've had a tough day, I'm gonna go sink an eighth like in my evening. These things are the reason that people start to turn a blind eye to their addiction. And as I'm saying, for me, I was in a position where ultimately I was just using it to justify everything, every single thing, because I was telling myself as well that life wasn't very good. And even when life was incredible, even the highs, even some of the highest things I've been through, I'd still be looking. It didn't matter what I did. Like a good example would be like, I'm in another country to do like a great interview or stuff. Damn right, I'm still going to try and find a way to make sure I secure some weed. I think that's like a massive stoner sort of situation. Like, get off the flight, how am I going to secure my weed? Dan O'Shea says, when I was 17 to 20, I'd probably drink heavily 3 days a week, and when I drank, I would smoke. Best thing to happen to me was settling down with a family, to be honest. Just seemed pointless after that. Yeah, and this is it. This is what I'm saying about the justification that people have. And I know for a lot of people, you're gonna have something where it's like, right, I'm responsible now. I've got a family to look after. I literally can't self-justify anymore. I cannot, for the love of God of me, be like, well, I better drink before I go and handle the bait. Like, it doesn't work. And for the people that are in that sort of situation, they need serious help. This is not about me sitting here and judging anyone and their situation, because like I'm saying, all of these self-justifications are going to change based on your personal story and what you may deem as that justification, For some people, it's as simple as they just don't want to exist. And because they don't want to exist, they link every single thing into not wanting to exist. And I think on one side of it, it's like, I'm not going to like quote unquote like kill myself, but at the same time, I'm going to speed up the process by doing something as damaging as smoking copious amounts on a daily basis, But then it's very difficult when you're not in the right mindset to want to change these sort of things. And so for me, ultimately, it was like living a self-fulfilling fulfilling prophecy and being exactly like Hank from Detroit Become Human. Great example, Thomas. That's why when we got to that episode that we did of it, and we got to that moment in Detroit Become Human, I felt very, very familiar to how Hank's mind state was. That was a moment for me in gaming that I was like, wow, this is like some real personal based experience, and this is, I can completely empathize with that. And look, I can't at this point in time in 2020 blame anyone that doesn't want to be alive sometimes. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, we all feel like that. Like Dan's just said here, a lot of the time it's to feel numb. It's easier to feel numb than to genuinely feel things. Yeah, and it is. Like, it 100% is. It makes things, like, completely non-processable. But the thing that I've learned from stopping smoking in general is, A, I now have to learn how to reprocess real emotions again, which is scary. You know, like I'm going to talk about the sort of things you go through in a second. When I get past the, like, why I quit. But then the other side of that is, like, not just like feeling numb. You start to realize that when you actually feel and you engage with all of these things, you're no longer just putting it off, you know? You're no longer just putting it off. And I think a lot of the time, the abuse of any substance is just prolonging that upset. And eventually, you go from where it makes you feel good and you forget about it, to the point where not only do you have all of those things, like, I started smoking to forget something, and then I got to the point where I forgot what I stopped smoking. You know, you get to a point where you don't even know why you're doing it. You're just doing it every day still. You know, your tolerance goes through the roof for whatever that substance may be. And then you're doing it more and more because you're trying to get back to that original when it just made you feel happy or distracted or whatever. It took the stress off of all of that stuff. But guess what? That becomes harder and harder. That whole chasing the dragon mentality and stuff is a very real thing to deal with. And so then you get to a point where not only is life bringing you down, right? Like, and all those things that you're trying to forget about, like, seem to just still be there because you're never actually engaging with them a lot of the time, and you don't know how to engage with them because you go for the quick fix, and the quick fix every single time is to smoke it off or to drink it off or whatever, you know? So not only do you not deal with those, but you then start to create a whole new section of problems, and like I'm saying, further self-justifications. Everything suddenly becomes a problem because you don't want to be doing it, because what you want to do is that substance abuse. You want to be high again. So suddenly something as simple as, like, you know, like the amount of times that I will have put something off because I'm like, you know what? This is long. It's easier to just stay in and smoke. You may have even started smoking in a social situation, but the second you get into that point where it's literally just you on your own, no longer with friends, no longer using it as a party type drug, or like a, you know, like a casual thing that you all went off to do as, like, you know, when you were younger or whatever, when you're just in your house to the point where you don't even want to go see your friends because it's easier, just, you're like, why would I go get high with them when I can be here and be high? Especially when you've got this added sort of addiction for pretty much everyone, which is the internet, you know? Especially when it's like, well, I'm hanging out with them anyway because we're connecting through the internet, or we're connecting through playing games, or any of this stuff. It suddenly becomes so much easier to sort of isolate yourself further. And I'm sure that everyone who's gone through this, especially people that aren't in the situation where they're using like a form of drug to distract themselves, is very aware after this year how damaging isolating yourself actually is. You know, if you've been in a situation this year where you've had minimal contact with a lot of people, like, then you know just how much and how damaging that actually is to your mentality, let alone if you're then on top of that just going further down the rabbit hole all of the time by being high and thinking, you know what, it doesn't matter though because I can just get high, etc, etc. So for me, it was an escapism type thing, and I think that's what it is for a lot of people. But the only thing you end up doing is further going down that rabbit hole, and the more you become alone, the harder it is to actually hang out with people. Like, you end up choosing that over everything, and that's what massively tied into quitting. There's two aspects of it, because one reason why I quit, right, is one, before I do that, I'm going to read what's in the chat actually. So someone said, only time I smoked is for a social laugh. If it is going to be anything illegal, it should be alcohol over weed first. Night out, people are drunk, causing fights and being dicks. Of course. Like, I completely agree. If we're drawing the line on what should and shouldn't be illegal, and as we're seeing this sort of social change across the world and situational changes with governments and stuff, we really do need to look at drinking and why that's so justified, as opposed to, you know, like there's certain situations where weed can actually help people with certain things, in the same way that microdosing can actually help people in certain situations and stuff. And like, if they didn't make them so illegal and just looked into the study behind these things, we might actually find ways to regulate these in better. But as far as alcoholism goes, like, you know, not only does it creates a much bigger rift in a lot of people's social situations, but it also creates a bigger rift in things like like as far as like, you know, violence towards family members and things like that, right? Like there's a big conversation that's always overlooked when it comes to like the knock-on effects of drinking, and what can happen, you know. So that's something that really needs to be tackled, but that's not anything in our control and stuff. And as I'm saying, it's just like it's the difference between the legalities that really changes people's attitudes towards all of these things as well, you know. Like I'm saying, like I think there's one limit with alcohol which is a bit different. Like you can only drink so much, you know, like, but like there's times where like legitimately me and friends are like, oh, let's finish this, like anywhere from a Q to an, oh, we bought this ounce for this party, well, we got to smoke through all of it, like, do you know what I mean? And you can get through that, and you're likely not going to throw up and stuff, but if you tried to do it with like an equivalent amount of spirits or something, you're dead. You're passed out. You ain't moving. It's got its own sort of self-limitation kind of thing, you know, like, which is, it is what it is. But yeah, I genuinely completely agree with that as well. And I also agree that we need to look at the legality when it comes to alcoholism and just alcohol in general, because it gives people a sort of like moral high horse that I really don't think anyone sort of deserves when you're like basically abusing any form of like substance or drink or whatever, you know. But that is what it is. Someone said I was going to ask about another stream, but should I leave that in the Discord? Like, yeah, like just that's what the Discord's there for. There's the live stream chat that you can just ask these questions about anyway. Someone says, yeah, being hungover and having time to wake up early and deal with the kids is awful. Kids definitely got me to scale back to drinking. Jeffrey, yeah, that completely makes sense. And I feel like that's like, it's not just like family situations, it's a responsibility thing for a lot of people as well. They get to a point where you have to be stubborn with yourself because you can't deal with those situations in a way that works, you know, or is safe, you know, and you're a grown ass man and you're like, you know what, actually, like, I've got to have restraint here and so on and so forth. But yeah, it's like I know a lot of people that have been like the second I looked in like my child's eyes, that was it for me, you know, and they just stopped whatever they were doing and they moved forward with that chapter in life. I think there's many situations that can sort of happen to you in theory. Like you can get like the job of your dreams and you're like, you know what, I'm not gonna fuck around anymore. Like I'm gonna really actually try this. I don't want to hinder my situation by turning up smelling of weed or booze or anything like that or whatever, you know. Or like some people just like get into like a crazy new addiction where they start like hiking or they jump out of a plane and they're like, you know what, I got a new type of high now. This is me, like, you know. Someone says ciggy's probably expensive now. Cigarettes are massively expensive as well, which is very, very difficult. Like, for not, it's a very smart thing, but at the same time, for people that are addicted, like to tobacco, nicotine, whatever, if you need to use it in your spliff or whatever, then you're still going to buy it, and the cost is just going to go up. The cost is always another thing as well. There's a lot of times where people go, I don't understand how you manage to smoke, or blah, 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 blah. Guess what? That doesn't suddenly magic away any of your other bills or whatever. Just people find a way to justify spending on that as well, which is another thing, which again, if you look into regulation and so on and so forth, then maybe that would be sort of controlled, but that's not really what we're here to sort of discuss, because that's out of our hands as far as like things go in the UK at the very least, you know. Sarah says, that's when I realized I should probably stop doing drugs. Yeah, you get to a point where you're like, you know what, like there's no fun, like, you know, there's no fun sniffing this cocaine in my room on my own, but people still end up doing it, you know. But I think there's always like a sobering moment. You catch yourself in a situation, like, or you catch yourself like it's all about like when people identify with something being a problem, and that can be very, very hard to do, you know. Why is this not auto playing? Can I put on like a auto? Is autoplay off? No, autoplay's on. But yeah, so there's like, if people were going to ask me in this chat, when's the right time to quit? It's when you were in the right mentality, you know? It's when you're in the first step to quitting, I think, is you have to be ready to make a change in some shape or form. That might be like something negative, it might be something positive, you know? There's always some sort of inspiration that needs to happen, and a general sort of stubbornness as well, because that's what I'm going to talk about as far as like how I've got through things, you know? Dan O'Shea says, I hate drinking around my kids. I do occasionally, but it's wanting to set a good example, also being in control and being able to care of them. Of course, you want to, you need to set an example. I remember, like, I was like, what, 11, I think, and my dad, like, just started, like, came into my room one time, didn't even live with us at the time or whatever, and started, like, drying out hash on my fucking radiator, and then decided that would be a good time to sort of, like, break down what the different types are and shit, you know? I don't think that was responsible, like, and I don't think that helped with anything, you know? But it is what it is. I was kind of there, like, yeah, that's, you know, I seen you do this before, kind of thing. But yeah, so definitely setting your examples and like being able to show restraint and control over anything. I think that's something that's very important when you do set boundaries. Just in general, I saw a very interesting thing recently on like how to like teach your children like consent in the right way, and one of the examples they had is like, you know, when your gran would like force a kiss on you, it should be like, do you want a kiss before you leave, kind of thing, you know? But instead, like, you grow up with that, like, come and give your gran a kiss, like, you know, that teaches a very, very different sort of mentality as far as consent goes, which I think is that article is very interesting. There's a lot of good examples and how you can sort of change those and stuff. And I know there's a lot of old school people that are like, that's just the way it is, but like what you don't think about is that knock-on effect. So it is what it is. We got Talon in the chat. Talon, I believe, quit as well this year. I know a lot of people in general quit this year as well, because you had two options. You can either sit in your house in quarantine, just smoking your lungs into a worse situation, knowing that out there, oh fuck, man, oh man, like, oh, damn it, man, you can always quit again. That's it. You can always quit again. But that's a great example, like, of like, it's the massive, like, that's a genuine massive emotional impact right there. But then it's the knock-on effect that then has with you. Like, you know, because it's so easy to just straight up numb yourself in that sort of situation. The loss of any family member is horrible, and in a way that it knocks onto you. You just don't want to think about that. You don't want to deal with that. You don't want to think about the memories. You don't want to think about any of that. You want to block it all out. And that is, like I was saying, about the whole escapism vibe and the distraction from yourself and your situations is something that can really happen, and it can happen so quickly. Exactly. It's something that when you've done it for years, you then know that it's a quick fix like that, you know it's just gonna be like that, and you're not gonna have to worry and stuff. But then you do that, and as you were saying, it then becomes, you want to go back to the quit. It's okay for anyone to have a blip, you know. This is the longest I've gone for not smoking, having tried in previous times where I quit for like maybe a month and then I go back to it and stuff. There's always things that happen. Either you get into a situation where something like a big knockback happens and you go, fuck this, what's even the point, you know? What's even the point in doing this? Why should I, you know? My life's still shit even if I don't smoke, you know? So you just go back to doing it, right? Or the second side of it is you get to, like, and this is both have happened to me, is you end up being like, I'm in control, man. It's been what, 2 months? I can have a little bit. I'll be absolutely fine. I'm not gonna let myself get back into that situation. I'm in control now, you know? And then you slip back into it anyway, because those habits are so easy to form. But yeah, 100% Talon, like, massively sorry to hear that. But don't beat yourself up about what, like, the knock-on effect it had on you. Like, many people would want to completely instantly forget about that as well. But you can always just try it again. There's no reason that you can't just go back at it, you know? It's as simple as that. Like, Ballistic said, I struggled with quitting smoking to vaping. I found the right juice and flavor and the right nicotine level. Now I would never go back. Yeah, I think there's a big difference between, like, smoking, like, to get high and smoking just because of, like, you know, the nicotine addiction and that kind of thing. And, you know, vaping's obviously been given a lot more of a healthier sort of like nod, and people are like, go ahead for it, like, do you know what I mean? Or at least for now, like, go, this is the better option. But it becomes very hard, like, when you get a little bit out of it. Like, I legit, if someone's smoking in public now, like cigarettes, not weed, I'm still a little bit like, damn, that smells like home, man. Damn, I'd like to hit that. But it's about having the strength to be like, no, I'm not going to do that, right? But when it comes to, legitimately, when it comes to, like, cigarettes make me feel sick now. Like, legitimate. If I smell it, I now suddenly understand why people be doing that. And I know they doing that fake cough. I always knew it was a fake cough, but they just try and let you know where it's like, you're smoking too close. Because it's horrible for people that don't smoke a lot of the time. It is. It's not a nice taste. It's not a nice smell. And you sort of realize that once you get over it. So I completely understand that. And I completely understand why people move on to vaping and then they get stuck at the vaping, but it's fine. It's legitimately fine. You can remove the nicotine level out of that bit by bit over time, I believe, and then you can sort of wean yourself off of that as well. As Mario said, it's all about self-discipline. So, I think we've covered the whys a lot. I think the reason for why I quit is fairly evident, but like I'm saying, for me, one of the biggest things was, look, turning 30, right? You turn 30, the world suddenly falls into a pandemic. Then COVID happens, like, you know, and you're stuck in your house and stuff. And on the one side of it, you're like, you know what, fuck it, man, I'm just gonna smoke my way through this. But then at the same time, like, things happen. Like, for me personally, like, you know, a big horrible sort of wake up call was like, my nan passing away was a wake-up call in kind of a sad, horrible way, because it was like, you know what, the amount of times that for all of my grandparents, not just her, but her in an extreme case, because I hadn't seen her in a couple years, but with, like, and she was, like, I wasn't as close as, like, with my other gran, so, but, like, I could pinpoint, that made me think about all of the times, literally all of the times that I have picked getting high, staying in the house, getting high, and not seeing family members. Like, that is one of the key things that really, really made me think a lot about, like, my actions moving forward. And on top of that, I'd smoked away all of the memories. I find it very hard to remember any of their voices and things that I grew up and did, you know, all of that. And for people that I was close with over years and stuff, like all of my people that I don't see as much as like friends and things like that. Like, you know, like, there's a lot of things that, because I chose to, like, get high, I burnt away. Literally, it's funny, I had a track years ago that was called Burn Away My Memories. I lived up to that in a self-fulfilling prophecy, like, essentially, you know. So a lot of that for me was a massive wake-up call. Then in the midst of COVID, being able to get a hold of smoking, like, you know, smoking weed and stuff, there'd be days when I couldn't get it. And those days were, like, literally the worst days. And fair enough, once you got a hold of it again, you're like, fuck it, it's fine. But legitimately, when you couldn't get to sleep, you couldn't hold a conversation, you couldn't do anything you wanted to do, you literally couldn't do anything, because all in the back of your mind is this concern about how you're going to get something because you supposedly need it. Seeing that situation as well, combined with, alright, so this one thing is dominating my life to the point where I'm not seeing people around me and stuff. I'm not leaving my house to go and hang out with anyone. I'm not spending time with family members. And guess what? They don't hang around forever. They literally don't like, they're not there forever. And, like, love is eternal and stuff. But at the same time, there's a beauty in getting older and actually being able to connect with your like your older family when you're deemed as an adult, which I think is like a super important sort of element of life. And that's something that I still, because of this childish mentality I had from just constantly smoking and thinking, you know what, it's fine, they'll never die, blah 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 blah, like all of that kind of stuff, and choosing to get high, I literally smoked away opportunities and stories and personal development for the sake of something that when I don't have it, I literally can't even control myself, you know. So there was all of these sort of emotions bundled up in me, all hitting at the same time. And on top of that, we've got a disease going around the world that literally attacks your lungs, right? It literally attacks your lungs, right? You know, and all of that together, as stubborn as I can be and stuff, I said, you know what, I'm not doing this anymore. Let alone all of the money that you waste in that process as well. You're spending money to burn away opportunities and connections that you need to progress as a person when you're at the point that I was at, okay? Like, so that's why. That's the big why on why I quit smoking. And you know what? Like, it was fucking tough, and I'm going to talk about how I had to combat the sort of situations I got through. As I said, it's 4 months and 25 days, 19 hours. The reason I know that is because of a great app called Smoke Free, and you can download that on your phone, and it tracks the days and everything for you. It gives you great updates on, like, oh, your lung capacity is slowly returning to this, like, you know, your immunity's back up to 100%. Like, I'm still 4%, only 4% of decreased risk of lung cancer. Like, you know, that's a long time I've got to make up for it. That's 4%, 4 years, 4 months. I don't know what the maths is on that, but it's going to be years and years and years. Only 40% on reduced, like, heart disease. Like, you know, it's crazy what you're doing to yourself just because you're trying to tell yourself this is helping with how I can process as a human. So yeah, I'm gonna that's the why I quit, which is the next segment in which I wanted to talk about. I'd love to know why people decided. I think the one that, like, Dan has given us is a very good example. Like, you know, having family for you, like, do you know what I mean? Like, when you've got, like, a responsibility bigger than yourself that you actually need to tackle and stuff, is something that you need to get on with. Like, you know, I think that's a very positive sort of reason to quit as well. You know, it's a positive, which is so important. So here we go. Jeffrey said I quit for 2 years, and then you got drinking more. A lot of people I know a lot of people that literally only smoke when they drink, and they're not even smokers and stuff. So I completely understand that. Again, cigarettes, you can beat that though as well. The more that the world gets back to normal, is the more that you can go back out and actually defeat that. Thomas says smoking used to be allowed on planes and trains. I remember being young enough that people would smoke on trains still. I remember there were smoking carriages on trains. You know, like, so, like, that's not even that long ago. Football Goal says I have a heart problem now because of cigarettes. Please stop smoking before it's too late, like it is for me. Well, that's one of the that's a great reason right there alone. Like, you know, and obviously, like if anyone can take away anything from any of this, is, like, you know, there's the problems always outweigh the situations. Like whatever it is that you think you need to be doing this for, there's always a better solution and stuff, you know. And you don't want to, you only get one, like my realization about family members, you only get one of them in certain situations, you know, or you only get one of yourself as well. And that's something that really is very important for people to understand. You know, Dan O'Shea turned 30 in lockdown as well. Well, yeah, you know what, Dan? People tell you that turning 30 isn't going to be that much of a problem. But you know what happens? The world goes to shit, man. Apparently this is it. We've turned 30 and the world literally feels like it's ending. So I don't know about that. I literally don't know about that. Paco says, Bam, how's it going, Paco? Good to have you with us. Couple people, Dan and people saying about my like, thank you for the condolences, of course. That in itself was a very weird thing to process, because due to, like, obviously the pandemic and stuff, you actually couldn't, we had to live stream a funeral, which I think is a horrible thing for anyone to have to do. It doesn't allow for the grieving process properly or anything like that. It's really bad. Nancy was in the chat. Nancy, I hope you're doing well. Nancy's an incredible singer and just generally incredible person that I know. She's done some incredible music in her time, and we used to do a lot of stuff back in the old rave days, you know. So thank you for passing by, Nancy. And Paco Man says, I have a friend who's addicted to it right now and is depressed with that. Well, yeah, it becomes such a horrible, like, you become like just a shell of yourself for about a week, where you can't sleep, you can't even eat properly, you can't process any form of emotion properly, because it usually just leads to anger with the fact that you can't just get your high and chill the fuck out. It's very, 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 very difficult situation, and it's mental. I see people go through it all the time. Like, you know, like, and it's not always as extreme as, like, you know, depending on how much you smoke per day or anything like that, but I see it a lot of time, like, I see it a lot of the time where it's legitimately, like, someone can't even get something for a couple hours and stuff, and they're just in the worst mood I've seen them in, like, all that week, because they can't get what they want. It's the body combining with the mind and fighting against you, which is completely fair enough, which is, again, like I'm saying, it's one of the major reasons why I looked at myself and I was like, I can't continue to just put myself and people around me through this situation, and on top of that, I'm paying to feel like this, you know. So it's incredibly whatever you come to a decision to make, it's very difficult. Football Golden said the doc said it's because of not moving a lot. He means not exercising and working out. And I started smoke when I was 13 till I took the test. The smoke helped me help block one of your arteries. Well, that makes a lot of sense as well. This is and this is something as well that, like, in general, unless you do go to the gym or you find something to be active about and stuff, most people now are in situations where their job doesn't force them to be too physical, the way they get to and from work doesn't force them to be too physical, and general lifestyle things means that you aren't too physical at all, you know? Like, it's sort of like this, like, trap of the way that things are going, that you get into these situations. And, like, you know, for me, I'm not the most, like, physical person in the world either. I make sure that I try and go out for a walk most days for a little bit, even if it's just round the block a couple times or to the shop or something like that, you know. And I do try and work out, like, once or twice a week now, like, actually work out once and twice a week, which that is going to move into what I'm saying about this is my next thing, like, pretty much is what helped me get through quitting, right? That's the next part of it, because that's you decide to stop, okay, but then what, you know? How do you deal with this? I'm not gonna lie to you, the first 3 days, hell on earth, hell on earth, like, legitimately, like, I probably would have murdered someone, you know, like if they had pushed me too far, I probably, even conversations with friends, I was snappy as fuck and stuff, you know, and family and things like that, right? The first week is pretty much like that. But the first 3 days, and I know I see this a lot of places, the first 3 days, especially if it's something like weed, right, is that the problem with that is that you're going to get into a situation that, like, right, so you're not sleeping properly. Yeah, you're not relaxing because everything's making you stressed, because you want to, your self-justification mode has gone into hyperdrive. You're like, I need this right now, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this, right? I need to have that cigarette, I need to have that spliff, because if not, I can't chill out. I'm not sleeping because I'm not smoking, which means I need to be able to do that, and your body's winding itself up, because in here is fighting with up here, right? Down here, everything in your system is fighting with your brain, and your brain is teaming up with the rest of your system, because it's like, don't worry, man, I'm gonna get you high. I'm gonna tell this stupid motherfucker, I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna get him. Don't you worry, man. I'm gonna get him. Okay? Because we need this right now. I can't function with you being all fucky like this and snapping at me. I'm sick and tired of it, right? And they team up on you. They literally team up on you. They tag team the shit out of it. Like on some Dudley Boys, they're 3Ding your entire mentality. Left, right, and center. They're throwing through tables, chairs, everything. Whatever they can. They're distracting the referee at any opportunity. Like, legitimately. They want to be the tag team champions again of your addiction, and that's what it is, right? So you literally get in a situation where, and on top of that, you're not eating properly. You're not engaging with life properly because it's all on pause. And all you can tell yourself is, I need to do this. So the first thing, as someone's put in there, is exactly like Mario's saying, firstly, that's right here. Saying no to your brain, that's the first trick. Like you have to be stubborn as hell. Like you have to brute force strength, get through it. And for me, right, I put myself in a bad situation, right? So I was like, well, I'm just trying to quit weed, so I'll smoke cigarettes for the time being, okay? Which still meant I wasn't sleeping properly or anything, because it wasn't the nicotine addiction. That was getting appeased, but the high and stuff, no. Now, after 2 weeks, I managed to kick the cigarettes, but I did it in a broken down process, because I knew ultimately the high was what like, even though people say, oh, you can't get addicted to weed and what, no, the high is exactly what kept me in it, okay? Right, so what I did to get past all of that was, imagine the cigarette. I'm tricking my body trying to trick itself, I'm like, I'll get off the cigarettes, because personally, I hate smoking cigarettes anyway. I knew I could kick that. And it does nothing for me. The only time I would really smoke a cigarette is because I couldn't smoke weed, right? So you're in a situation where you're just telling yourself, no. For the first 3 days or such, that's what I had to do, right? And I got to that. And at day 3 and stuff, your mentality and your energy levels weirdly start to go up a bit more, right? Like, you start to deal with the fact that all of this stuff is happening, yeah? You start to deal with the fact that all of this stuff is happening, and you're starting to get things back. Your appetite comes back a little bit, your appetite comes back a little bit, and you're starting to eat. Food tastes a little bit better. That's good, Slowly, because you haven't slept properly for the first 3 to 4, maybe even the first week, you're eventually starting to sleep a bit better, because you're just exhausted from not sleeping. So you end up getting into a place where you're sleeping a little bit better, you're sleeping without it, so your body's resting a little bit more, because it's like, oh wait, I can actually do this. I can actually go to sleep without that smoke before bed. Like, I can do this. Another thing that I did massively in the first few weeks is I'm having like 3 baths a day, okay? Like boiling hot baths. So I'm like, that's getting all of it out. I'm sweating it out of my system, right? So I'm eating a bit better. I'm clean as hell. I'm incredibly clean, like, and sweating it out in the same sort of process, yeah? I'm also, the biggest one, right? The biggest one that you have to deal with is the distraction. Every time that because it comes in little waves. Every so often, your body just fucking like, just legitimately, you'll just be chilling there. You'll be doing whatever you can to distract yourself, and whatever you can do to distract yourself in that process is fine. You want to binge watch Vikings for 2 weeks straight? Go ahead and do it. You're dealing with some serious shit, okay? You want to play games all damn day and because it takes your mind off everything? Do it. It doesn't fucking matter. This is an important thing for you to do, okay? You need to fucking masturbate? Do it, bro. It's a distraction. Whatever. You need to fucking order a takeaway. Even if you haven't been hungry for 3 days and you're like, I shouldn't order a takeaway, that's something. Fucking do it, okay? There's a whole array of things you can just do. It doesn't matter. You want to fucking take up tennis? Go ahead and take up tennis, right? But every fucking so often, yeah, somebody is, your brain and your body is going to come and they're going to be like, yo, it's time to fucking smoke right now for like 5 minutes straight. Yo, I've had enough of this. Quit watching Vikings. It's time to, I broke the hammer. But you get the point, right? It's time to fucking smoke, right? And it's in those moments, not the entirety of the day, because you can distract yourself for little pockets of the day. It's in those moments, that is where you have to be strong, right? That's where you have to distract yourself. And this will go on for the first month or so, like roughly the first month mainly. Once you get past the first month, it's more of a small mental thing and it happens every so often, but the knock's not so loud. It's more like, can we just get a little smoke, please? Just a little bit of smoke, maybe? Come on, man, just a little one, like just for old time's sake, whatever, right? But for the first few days, it's gonna be deafeningly loud, yeah? Drinking soda a lot, that's a good example. I definitely snack a little bit more now. Now I've got a sugar addiction. I can deal with that down the line, right? But yeah, legitimately, right? That it's when that deafening sound kicks in, that's when you need to be able to A, say no to yourself, and B, have a distraction. Sometimes I just go have that boiling hot bath. Because that's relaxing at the same time. It hits you on a different level, right? It's almost like a meditation. If you can meditate or you have meditated, that would probably work pretty well as a distraction as well, because it's all about calming the mind. Yeah? All of these, for anything you need to do in that moment to just distract yourself, go ahead and do it, right? Because that's what it is. It's the distraction. So what I would do, if it wasn't a bath or some shit, is I'd do some dumb shit. Like I'd go and do 10 press-ups. I'd go and fucking do some fucking sit-ups or something just to distract myself for a second and get past that deafening 5 minutes. That's what it is. Like, the problem is that there's gonna be some things like, say you normally do binge watch shows while getting high, or just smoking cigarettes, or drinking, or anything like that, right? When you're doing that, you're putting yourself in the same sort of mind state that you were previously in. So of course, what's going to happen is that deafening pang is going to come back in and attack you, right? It's going to come because it's something so familiar. It's like, yeah, watching this show is cool. Yeah, playing this game's cool, but it would be better if we were high. It would be better if you had a smoke after this one, whatever, right? So what you need to do is find things that sort of change that state and are new, right? I believe it's very true when people say about, like, you can't defeat an addiction, you only you only transfer it, so ultimately you want to try and do things that are good. That's why, like, doing some form of, like, physical exercise in those moments can be good. You can create a new sort of routine, so that's the major thing. That's the toughest thing that I think you have to defeat when you quit smoking, and that's what's helped me the most. It's finding a distraction for what used to be the norm, right? And that can be whatever you want to do. Someone said to me, if you want to stop something, don't say to yourself, I will not do it anymore for the rest of my life. Say to yourself, I will not smoke for a week, and then after that, say one for now. That's a good example as well, Tuxedo. That's it. Each day is its own challenge, Like, I originally was all talking to myself like, this is just going to be a tolerance break. I just need to chill out. I need to just not smoke every single day for a month or so, and then I can go back to doing it because I'll be back in control and stuff. Ultimately, I realized that it had too much of a hold on me, so I treated every day as it was, and that one day becomes 1 week, and that 1 week eventually becomes a month, and then that month becomes 2 months. Then at 2 months, you're like, I've gone too far, I've gone too far for me to be able to go back to this, I would let myself down. I'd let the people around me down. And yeah, you have to be ready to stop. And that's something that I said at the start of it. You do have to be ready to stop. But for a lot of people, it's those triggers, and it's that moment, and it's finding it. I think once you do make that sort of initial jump after 2 or 3 days, right? You start to look at things and you're like, hold on, man. I was paying my shop this much per week. I don't want to do that. I could spend that on myself. I was paying my dealer this much per week. I was going to the pub this much per... Like, you start to find all of these other knock-on things that come with it that you go, you know what, actually, I'm a mug if I go back to this. Like, no disrespect or whatever. One of the best things legitimately ever is when I told my dealer that I was done, right? I owed him some money, so I had to see him a few weeks after anyway, right? Because, you're smoking an ounce per week. Sometimes you gotta get it on credit, right? It is what it is. But when I paid him off that last money, and I told him that I was done, because we had a good relationship in general, like, you know what I mean? Years and years and years that I've known this guy and stuff, yeah? He was happy for me. He was legitimately happy for me. Like, he was like, no, you're making the right choice. Like, I respect it, like, and he had stopped smoking, like, a few months before that and stuff himself anyway, and only dealt it, and, like, so he got it. He legitimately got it. It was no bad feelings and stuff, and I even saw my, like, backup guy recently, because he lives around here, in the shop, and he's like, I got some good stuff, I was like, I've quit. I'm 3 months clean, and he was happy for me as well. They're always going to find new customers and stuff. Like, it is what it is. But, like, that was a good feeling. Being able to be in those situations is a good feeling. Not having an external debt on top of your head is a good feeling, and you start to find these positive things to live for. And massively for me, this stream and streaming and connecting with people massively helped me out, and that's why I wanted to do this chat today, because I hope that the community we've built and people being able to talk openly about this kind of thing can be a help to other people. I hope that if someone even if one person sees this and it gives them some shape or form of advice that they can potentially use. What I'm not going to sit here and say is that I'm a medical professional, because we both know that would be an absolute lie. But all I can do is give you how I feel, so maybe you can take on board the kind of theories to what I'm saying and apply that to your life in some shape or form. You know, that's what it is. For me, the biggest thing is getting past the first month. If you can get past that first month, you'll be golden. If you can get past 3 days, you can get past a week. If you can get past a week after those 3 days, you can get to the second week. It's all down to you, and it's down to finding distractions. And the other side of it, I'm not going to sit here and say like praise to God or anything like that, because I'm not religious, right? And I see a lot of people when they stop or they come out of rehab or something like that, they put a lot of power in God. But I think you can always look at this. While I'm not the biggest believer in The Secret or the biggest believer in religion, what I think is a good way of looking at, when I look at like religion personally, right? I see someone get an award, right? And they say, I want to thank God for getting me here and giving me this and that and the opportunity, or so on and so forth. I look at that, and while I may not be religious, what I do look at is ultimately that belief. For some people, it's easier to put that belief into God, right? It's very, very easy to put that belief into God. For other people, like, and they may not see it like this, but that same belief that people have when they say God, you can take God out and do the whole Snoop Dogg when he got his star in the Hollywood thing. I want to thank me for being here. I want to thank me for the opportunities I created. Ultimately, your belief, whether it be in a higher power or yourself, is what's going to get you out of these situations, you know? It's the belief that you can get there. And for some people, it's easier for them to say, oh, it was the universe or it was the higher being or whatever. But ultimately, you have to remember that you hold the same power. Like even if you look at like, you know, like some religious scriptures or whatever, if you look at like how the Bible goes, it says like we were created in his image, right? So then if we're created in his image, we have the same ultimate power to change our reality, or at least shape our destiny to some shape or form, because that's what any parent would want for their children, right? Like, so ultimately, like, you need to have that level of belief in yourself, right? And I know it gets tough. Like, I know it's very easy to be like, this happened or that happened. I'm going to go back. I'm going to fall back on this and so on and so forth. But you need to look at yourself and be able to say, you know what, right? I can get here. There's nothing that is going to stop me, especially when it's something that you have control over. At the end of the day, right? A lot of the time, look, like your pub isn't knocking on your door. The cigarette shop isn't kicking in your door and saying, smoke this right now or whatever. So when it's something that is within yourself, you have the power to change that reality. It's all in you. And that is literally what is all around you. That self-belief, right, will get you so much further than anything else. And it's hard to have it sometimes. It's very, very hard. I think there's a big connection that we look at when it comes to addiction. And you can actually, if you fix the problems behind the reason that someone has to be addicted to something, then it's very easy for them to stop. Like, and that's what I think is a massive turning point for a lot of people, is they get to that point where they realize, like, I use this to help me get through a bad situation. Now it creates all of the bad situations in my life, and that needs to stop, you know? And as I'm saying, you have the power, and it might not be easy, and you might slip. And yes, you know what? You probably will end up slipping up some shape or form along the way. But legitimately, like you know, like in Batman, like where Alfred says, like, what happens when we fall down? We get back up again, you know? You there's nothing stopping you from continuing on that path. So what? You know what? You said you were never going to drink again, and you end up having one drink. You ended up waking up fucking hungover the next day. You ended up smoking so much. You know what? That was yesterday. That doesn't mean that you then get upset all over again and you just put yourself back into that same rabbit hole. You legitimately keep going forward. There's always going to be things that set you back, but really, it's on you to say, I'm not going to fall victim to my own traps again, you know? And that can be hard, and you can self-justify. You can literally self-justify yourself into, like, going back into another 2-week dip. But what would be the point in that? It's happened. Don't be harsh on yourself if you try something and it goes wrong. You know, legitimately, don't. That is where that addiction comes from in the first place a lot of the times. Like, you know, that's where that justification came from in the first place, because you were being too hard on yourself. It's okay to fail. Like, you know, it's legitimately okay to fail as long as you're willing to keep trying harder the next time. Like, and I think that's something that a lot of people, when they're trying to quit something or get over an addiction, is their biggest stopping point. They go, well, I fucked it now, so that's it. You know? What's the point? I've done it now. I might as well continue to do it. Like, but why? Like, you know, you'll be prouder of yourself if you can slip up and keep going. Like, and it comes a lot from self-love and self-belief and all of this kind of stuff. But that is ultimately what has helped me get through these situations, as well as the people around me. So I'm just gonna, that's pretty much my like my three major steps that I wanted to talk about. I told you why I started to smoke, I told you why I quit smoking, and I told you what helped me get through quitting to get to the point where I'm now at 4 months. You know, it's a massive achievement for me. I've been smoking since I was 13. I'm 30. That's 17 years of my life that I have to undo. And I'm nowhere near doing it. But I'm still every day just approaching it one by one and doing the best that I can. And everyone else can do that as well. Like, so if you felt that you couldn't, you can. Like, just believe, like, legitimately, if I can do it, you can do it. Like, there's nothing as different as we all are, we all have the basic tools in life to be able to change our situations and mentalities at the very much. And like, you know, what you may discover, like for me, is I discovered that I've got a lot to deal with my own dyspraxia. Now, if I have like a situation, like, you know, if I have like a literal like thing in my brain that means I can be like quite overly emotional and stumbly and bumbly and not talk properly and all of this kind of stuff, what do you think it was doing when I was smoking on top of that? You know, like, I've got other things that I need to deal with outside of the addiction itself, but you're not going to see those things until you at least eliminate and start looking at your own situation, you know, like, and that's what it is. It's being able to just move forward and clear the smoke, essentially clear the smoke, and then you can really start looking at the reasons that you got to where you were in the first place, you know, but you're not going to do that for as long as you just constantly keep that smoke cloud up and tell yourself it's all just down to the world is shit or it is what it is. So like that's pretty much the main things. Now I'm going to take some time out and actually read the chat again. I'm sorry that I'm doing this in segments, but it's just I didn't really plan for this other than a few things I was going to talk about, and I just wanted to get through it, you know. But all of this stuff is for people to just talk, to share your own experiences, share what's helped you, and we will all help each other out. How old am I? I'm 30 years old. I've said this a couple times. I'm 30 years old. Started when I was 13, right? That's 17 years of my life. It's a long, it's more than half of my lifetime, you know? So that's something, like, if I can beat something that's literally been part of my life for that long, then I just think anyone can, essentially. And I know it's not easy at all, but you can do it. And if you can't do it on your own, like, at the same time, friendships are always going to help. Your family's always going to be there for you. Being able to just open up and talk to anyone sometimes, not have them give you advice on how to do it, but being able to just speak to people is going to help you, you know. Sometimes you need to be able to just open up about how you feel. Sometimes you just need to have someone that you tell them, look, I'm quitting smoking, and there's going to be some days I just need to say to you, I really need to smoke right now, like, you know, and I just need you to either remind me not to do it, or at the very least just hear me out and let me say what's going on in my brain and so on and so forth, you know. And that's one of the reasons that I'm actually going to open a channel in my Discord for the sake of the month. I'm going to open a Stoptober channel in my Discord, so if anyone is trying to quit anything in general, or even if you've been quit on something for ages but you're having a day where you feel like you want to talk about it or whatever, I'm going to have that for people right there, you know, because that's the very least that I can do to try and help people. I can't be on call 24/7 for anyone, but I can have it so I can try and help you out, or someone else in the community will help you out as well, you know. So I'm going to start from this question. Tuxedo Snake says, how much did you smoke a day? You can do the division on like 28 grams into 7 days. I can't, and my maths is terrible, but a fucking lot, maybe like up to 10 spliffs a day, which is, you know, it's ridiculous, man. I don't know, it was too much. Dan O'Shea says, glad to see you on the other side, Bam, you're smashing it. Thank you so much, Dan. We're all smashing it in our own way, and that's the beauty of these situations. We all find our way to smash it, and the people that aren't there yet, they'll find their way as well, you know. They'll find their way as well eventually. Like, for it really depends on where you're at in your life and stuff. Like, I have a few friends that are like a considerable, like a bit younger than me, like, and you know, like, they still smoke every day and whatever. It's all about if you feel comfortable with your situation, you know. So it's like it's about where you get to in life, and when you decide it is or isn't for you. But I also have like those same friends and stuff will legitimately be like, you know, like, no, don't go back to it, you know, despite whatever they may do. They know that, like, for me personally, that this is the right course and stuff, and I really appreciate that level of support and stuff, you know. And I'm never going to sit there and judge them for what they're doing either, because I understand that it's just like drinking or working out or anything, or snacks or diet or whatever you want to call it. Like, it's about where you sort of draw the line and how you feel about these situations, you know. You know, it's just good to be able to just talk openly with people about it. I have a co-worker that smokes cigarettes weekly, and he's 19. Well, yeah, like, this is the thing. When you're a kid, right, or like a teenager, I think you get into a situation where you start to sort of do these things that you think makes you more adult and stuff, you know? Or not even just that. You've seen adults throughout your lifetime use these things as coping methods, or like, you know, it's just what you do, you know, like, oh, these guys, like, you know, like Rachel in that Friends episode where she like pretends to smoke because everyone else smokes, and they like have these conversations and meetings in the smoking area, so she then sort of thinks it's the norm. So like, you know, like for a lot of people, especially younger people, it's a very easy trap to sort of fall into. And it's also quite a rebellious thing in general. Like, you know, you go out, you act like how you don't think your parents did when they were all in like pretty much the same situation anyway, and then you end up getting addicted to something, you know, or you end up becoming an alcoholic or whatever at a fairly young age. I'm glad that like ultimately I like did all my drinking from like 13 through to like 19, and just the second I started to get hangovers properly, I was like, this is not for me anymore. I don't like this feeling at all. But, you know, I also like the fact that I can have one or two drinks and I get absolutely smashed because of that. It's a nice balance. And it means I don't really drink that much when I actually do go out. I rang the cannabis quit line, and the lady said, for any inquiries about cannabis, please press hash. That's a solid joke. I can't even take that away from you. Packerman said I drank a lot of soda. I think you definitely find a way to sort of balance that. Like one of the toughest things is you sort of go, well, I'm not having that anymore, but you're not taking away my fucking Coca-Cola. Not on my watch. I'm already giving up too much, you know, and I'm sort of in that similar place. Protostock says, I'm glad you're giving this personal advice out. Good job, Bam. Thank you so much, man. I'm just trying to give you like my perspective on it in the hopes that it may help someone, and that's all I can really do. A friend said to me that if you want to stop something, oh yeah, we spoke about this. Don't say I won't do it. It's true. Don't ever just tell yourself this is indefinite, because then that creates this level of pressure that's easier to buckle under. Day by day. That's the best thing you can do. Day by day. What day in October can I stop? Can I stop the 29th of October? Sam Moffat, I think you think that you're really funny, but you're not, and it's not appreciated. Obviously, the point in Stoptober, as explained at the start of it, was that you stop on the 1st of October and you make it through the month. Now, the reason that you do this is because it takes about 28 days, or just a bit over, depending on the person and stuff. It takes around 28 days for people to sort of form a new habit, okay? So that's the whole point in starting something like this at the start of the month, and that's the whole reason behind Stoptober, is because what they want is for people to actually use the entirety of the month to get over something. So it is what it is. Well done, you know. First joke, I'll give it to you. That was a solid joke. You probably copied and pasted it, but it was a good enough joke. Second one, not appreciated, and you should probably think about why you feel the need to go into streams and make certain jokes like that on serious topics. Next question, or comment to be read out. Therapists be angry, Bam helping people for free. Yeah, it is. I don't know how much I can help, but I can give you my perspective. That's all I can ever do in life. Give you my perspective and hope it helps out in some shape or form. That's always how I've viewed my music and stuff as well. I talk about like just things that are close to me. You know, a lot of my like more quote unquote emotional kind of tracks and stuff or anything like that is just because hopefully someone else hears it and they can feel a certain way and it helps them in that situation. That's how music's always applied to me personally. It's always, you know, been been something that sort of like I hear a song or something and it relates to my mood, or it justifies something that I thought but couldn't put into words and stuff. So, you know, that's all I can ever do. I can give you my perspective on things, and people can you know, they can go ahead and maybe it rings true. Like, you know, maybe it rings true, maybe it doesn't. So TGK was saying you have to be ready to stop. I wasted 20 of my years on hard drugs. Well, yeah, exactly. Like, and the thing is, you go down that rabbit hole and you don't realize that you've wasted them, because it's a great time until you get out of it. But it sounds like you have got past that, and we're all fucking proud of you, mate. It's as simple as that, man. It's legitimately as simple as that. Like, we are all doing well in our own aspects, you know? We're all doing well in our own aspects, and it doesn't matter what you lost, as sad as that can be. Like, of course, like I'm saying, there's a lot that I completely, like, I wish I had those memories and so on and so forth, but all I can do, and all any of us can do, is make sure that we don't waste the next however many time, like, you know, the next however many years, because of that same thing. It's about that realization, and then not being harsh on yourself because you did lose all of that time, you know. Bridges that aren't burnt completely, you can fucking get a boat if they are as well. You can try your best, and if you can't, like, fix it, at least you tried, you know. At least you tried, and that's the important thing. You can always try and go back and not like relive those moments, but it's like you can actually change the situation, you know. So what, there's someone you haven't spoke to in 5 years or whatever because you spent too much time being high and blah blah. Give them a call and see if they want to talk. Like, you know what I mean? Or at least a text, and then maybe take it from there. If you've got the number, like, you can always try and push for a better tomorrow, kind of thing. I think is the important thing. Tuxedo Snake, did you stop smoking or something else too? I just stopped smoking, and what by stop smoking, I mean legitimately stopping not just smoking cigarettes, because I wasn't a big cigarette smoker, but going, as I've said previously, from about an ounce a week and 30 grams of tobacco mixed in that, roughly, or whatever went dry and I didn't smoke at the end of it. But yes, so that was it. That was my major vice, you know. Sometimes I do some other stuff on the side if it was a party kind of thing. I kind of stopped that in recent years anyway. But yeah, like, you know, like, but again, that's not something I was like addicted to. That's just like, you're at a party and someone's like, you want a line, mate? And you're like, you know what, go on then, you know. Why not? It's a fucking party. But yeah, one day at a time, as Mario said, that's the way you get through it. Adnan says he's 5 months strong. Well done, Adnan. Absolute, genuinely great work to you, man. You know, that's you're in a similar position to me. We're so close to that 6 month mark, and that's a major milestone. That's half a year. And when you're caught up in that addiction, then whatever it may be, being able to count these milestones is a massive blessing, you know, and it makes it easier as well. It makes it so much easier as well. Believe in yourself is the most powerful and the hardest to continue and hold, says Protostock. It is. You have to believe in yourself, and it's very hard to do because life is gonna fucking beat you down, and your mind is gonna play tricks on you, and it's gonna make you feel like you're not good enough in situations, or something's gonna happen and you say, I did all of this believe in myself and it still didn't work out. But again, like I'm saying, the important thing is that you did believe in yourself in those situations, and that's something that life can't take away from you unless you allow it to, and that's easier said than done. And there's gonna be days where you don't believe in yourself, but there's gonna be other days where that's even easier to do or harder to do. But it's a balance, and it's taken each time, you know. That's why I took myself off prescription meds, to be honest. I didn't feel like I needed them anymore. I was tired of pills controlling me. Now I'm in control, and it feels so much better knowing that. Dan, like, great job as well. I'm someone that's like against prescription meds, because what happens is, right? What happens a lot of the time is people will tell you, yeah, like someone said to me, right? A therapist said to me when I was going to therapy for a short amount of time, yeah. Therapist said to me, I want to put you on these, you know, like antidepressants or whatever. But I'm like, why? And they're like, oh, to fix the chemical imbalance in your brain. And I'm like, okay, but I've created a chemical imbalance. I have created a chemical imbalance in my brain because I smoke and I drain my own resources. So therefore, the chemical imbalance that you're trying to fix with pills is just going to create a bigger imbalance. What if I took out the thing that was creating the imbalance in the first place? You know, that's how I kind of look at it a lot of the time. And obviously, that doesn't apply to everything, and some people, like, just generally do have an imbalance. But just from personal experience, like my friend that ended up in the ward and stuff, of a you know, psychiatric ward and stuff, that was after he had started taking a fair few sort of like pills to balance him out and stuff. So my sort of personal experience and seeing what it done to people close to me kind of put me off that for life. It is what it is, because then when you go into them, they start pumping you with more and more stuff. And another side of that as well would be that my uncle, my dad's brother that we never got to meet, neither me or my sister or a lot of my cousins and stuff, was because he was in a psychiatric ward for the criminals. You know, like a criminal psychiatric ward in the 80s, and because he was a big black guy, they overdosed him with a chemical cocktail that killed him instantly. So, yet again, I don't believe in a lot of these things and stuff, you know? So it is what it is. Completely, because fuck the police at the end of the day, and fuck the system and institutionalized racism as a general, you know, which is something we've been massively reminded of this year. Systematic and institutionalized racism as a whole. Fuck it all, you know. So moving on. Protostar just saying that's great for you, Dan. 100%, as I'm saying, 100%. Thomas talking about that reminds me of what Doc said back in Back to the Future 3. Your future is whatever you want it to be, so make it a good one. Exactly. Like, you are in control of these situations, and don't think that you're not. You can push forward. You can always push forward and do it, you know. Jeffrey saying that his wife's going through a similar transition. I hope that I'm sure you are. You're a good guy, making it as much of a viable and possible thing to do, and I know you'll be there, right there for her, you know. So, like, you know, just help her through this. And, you know, it's the withdrawals to like prescription meds are like some of the harshest in the world, I hear. So, like, legitimately, Dan backing that point up as well. Legitimately, like, you know, congratulations to her for deciding to make this choice. Pics of Zeet saying beautiful words, Bam. Tuxedo and Protostar asking how old I am. I am 30, and then you're praising me on looking young. This is what I was saying. People are like, you must have done something to sort of keep your, like, to look so young and keep your body in top shape. I didn't. I'm going to try now. Like, you know, I'm going to try now, but it is what it is. So, like, you know, like, just luck of the draw, I guess. I'm glad that I don't have, like, a withered face from all of the years of smoking and stuff for some reason. I don't know how. Maybe it was the, like, original relaxation that made me not stressed, and I got through it and stuff. Sorry it's taken me a while to get through this and stuff, but I just want to make sure I'm getting through everyone's comments and stuff, because we're sort of coming towards like the end of everything I've wanted to say, so I just want to see what people are saying. Someone says I look 30 months max. Thank you. Mario says you have your heart in the right place. I try my very, very best. You know, this is what I'm saying. It's been easier to process emotions and why you should be good to people and things like that as well, when I'm not completely clouded, and something I suffer with is a general sort of thing is like you know, like there's a lot of like with the overthinking that comes with dyspraxia, but then also smoking and stuff. I'd be a lot of like, I have like a kind of like envious or jealous streak, or not even so much that, but there's a lot of like, why does this person get this opportunity when I've tried my best and stuff? So I try my hardest to sort of put my heart in the right place as much as I can, because it's also a constant reminder for me in the way that you should think about situations and stuff. Just because somebody has something, and I think that's very hard in this sort of internet era. It's very easy to log on and see so many people looking like they're doing absolutely great, and you go, you know what, my life's going nowhere, I'm just gonna fucking smoke it away, you know, or whatever, like, you know, but again, like, it's not the right mentality to have, and it's something you got to work on these things, and it's easier to see what these problems are when you're not got this clouded view of yourself as well. That's how I feel as well. Really One Gamer says Bam's hair looks more trimmed. I quit smoking when my pops died of lung cancer. Well, sorry to hear that, Really One Gamer, but obviously that's a It's a very mature decision to make about that situation as well. And sadly, this is a message for people that are thinking about doing it. Don't allow something to go wrong in your life from smoking or someone close to you to be your wake up call. For some people, you need it to be your wake up call, but at the same time, when people around you kind of tell you there's no good can come of this in a lot of situations, they're talking from a real point and a real realization, and they're trying to save you a bit of that upset as well, so try take those sort of things on board. Once again, really, one gamer, I'm sorry to hear that completely, but at the same time, like I'm saying, good on you for giving it up. Anyone dealing with this knows that you are stronger than you think. I know that you are stronger than you think. I love you. Thank you, Pixazy. 100%, exactly. Just know that you are in control, as hard as it feels like. It can be tough, but you can get through that. I cannot even say that. Is that Abhishenk? I think that might be it. Abhishenk, I feel such things are fine in moderation, or occasionally I smoke 2 or 3 times a month whenever I drink socially. And yeah, of course, this is what I've said, and I've said this as we've gone through this. It's like, if it's something that you have a level of control over, if it's something that's much more on the rare side of things, if you're in that demographic of people that can have 1 or 2 drinks every so often, or a smoke every now and again and whatever, you're probably not in a state where it's an addictive state, and fair enough, continue as you want to, but this talk has mainly been about for the people that ended up in a situation like myself or other people where it becomes your everyday norm, and you justify that situation. It goes from being 2 to 3 times a month to 2 to 3 times a day, and then 2 to 3 times an hour or whatever, and there's big differences, and it's all about self-identification and what you feel is appropriate for your lifestyle and what you can what works well for you, ultimately. So yeah, I can say bad words now. I can smoke now. I felt that one. Yeah, are you talking about when you get to a point when you're younger, you sort of yeah, I can do this, I can do that. I'm so mature. I'm so mature. And that's the trap. You get into it at a young age, and then suddenly you just ended up smoking through all of your 20s or drinking through all of your 20s and stuff, and you don't even realize it's a problem until it's too late in certain situations and stuff. It is what it is. I'm sorry if anyone felt bad. I wasn't trying to defend smoking. No, of course, Abhishek. It's down to how people deem their own situations, 100%. So like I said, if you're in a situation where you feel you are in control, and it's only a couple times a month, and it's only when you smoke or whatever, or you drink and you end up having a couple cigarettes, then so be it. No one's judging you, at all. No one's judging anyone in this conversation, and that's the whole point in it. AK Ruben says, I'm 20 now and I've been smoking since I was 13 to 18 and was smoking from 13 to 18. Well, at least you done what sort of I did with drinking, you sort of burned it out in those younger years, and now you can use your 20s to recover, like me with drinking. So as bad as it is for us to have started smoking so young, in a way, maybe you've got it out of the way, you've seen it, and you don't like it. It's done. You've done that now. You're over it. Well done. Congratulations. Become a gym buff or something. I think that's what a lot of people do in their 20s instead now. So yeah. Dan also agreeing. I would drink heavily at 21 and did all my drinking from 14 to 20. Yeah, you do it early and you're you know what? Conquered drinking. Hangovers. I'm not living my life with hangovers. This is horrible. I'm not doing this anymore. I'll drink once or twice at a night. I have 2 shots. Gone for the evening. I'm dancing all night on a dance floor. Perfect way to do it, I believe. And again, that's where it's in a more controllable state, sort of thing. Mario says people underrate themselves of what they're capable of doing. 100%. And that again can be the addiction. That can be the substance abuse telling you can't do these things, because guess what? It wants you to keep feeding you this thing that makes you feel instantly good. It is what it is. It is what it is, kind of thing. And that's how you sort of get past it. Tuxedo Snake says, therapists hate this guy. Pixazeet says, I'm proud of you all. Thank you very much. Proud of everyone in this chat as well. We've had a very mature conversation throughout it, and we've all come together and discussed these things, and I think it's a very, very good. I'm really happy with this stream, and it was important to do this on this day. It's the 1st of October. You can go out and make a change for the rest of your month if you're halfway debating, considering it, or if there's anything you want to give up that you think you can exchange for doing something better, then use this month to do it, man. You know, I'm gonna try and fucking work out at least 3 times a week is my new goal. You know, like that's my new. I'm gonna try and add a positive in, something positive, and I'm gonna cut out the takeaways. You know, that's my 2. I've already stopped on the smoking. I'm trying to find something I can sort of give up and exchange a bit on, you know? So it is what it is. Sanu says, I wasted $8,000 on smoking from 15 to 19. I could have bought a 3090 with that. Yeah, you could. Could have bought a starter car or something with that. But it is what it is. It is what it is, you know. You learn the lesson and you go on with it. TGK, from when I was talking about him earlier, he said he's been clean for 5 years now, which is incredible. Absolutely incredible, man. We're all proud of you. Like, well fucking done. You know, that's what I'm saying. And those 5 years will feel so much better than whatever you considered you felt you wasted anyway. So, like, you know, massive, massive, massive love to you right there. Thomas, have a good evening. I just see you say you're going to go there. Thank you so much for passing by. Didn't really need to, like, to stay on top of too much. So it's been, I'm thankful for you to be here to keep an eye anyway. So big love to you, man. John Duncan says, have you stopped smoking, Joe? Yep, 100% have. Congratulations, keep fighting the good fight, says Jeffrey to TGK. William says, I was in hospital 2 months ago with pneumonia and haven't had a cigarette since. Well done, man. Like, do you know what I mean? 2 months, you're so close to that 3-month milestone. Like, you're basically there, and then from there you're halfway to your 6 months, and so on and so forth. And I'm sure you already feel massively, massively better from doing that, you know. So big love, man, big love. Hillary says, really proud of all of you who've quit and are trying to quit. Exactly, man. Like, it's all it doesn't matter about if it's day 1 or if you're, like, you know, year 1 or whatever it is. As long as you're just trying to make these changes, then you're in a good situation, you know. You're in a good situation. So yeah, that's mainly it. Nicky the Kid says, it's hard not to drink when I'm depressed, to be honest. You just feel like the world around you doesn't matter. Yeah, of course, but this is it. Like, ultimately, the world around you doesn't matter, but you matter. You know, you completely matter in those situations, and drinking yourself away from it, like, is only going to have a knock-on effect somewhere down the line. You're only going to feel more depressed because you drunk your way through it, kind of thing, you know? Like, that's the first step, like, for anyone, like, ultimately, that I wish that people would take away from this completely, is, like, legitimately, like, you, as much as it will feel like you don't matter, because trust me, I've been there, and I've been in the place where it's like, you know what, I can't fucking man up and just take my own life. And that's the sort of dumb mentality that you get yourself into thinking, I can't man up and do this. I'm a coward. I can't even do this right, yeah? Can't even just end it all, whatever. I'ma just fucking drink it away. I'm gonna fucking smoke it away. All of this kind of stuff. But ultimately, right, you get out of those moments. But what you don't want to do is keep yourself in that moment for way longer because you drunk yourself into it further, you know? And that's sort of like my big takeaway from all of that, personally, I think. So, you know, like, ultimately, everyone fucking matters. Everyone does. Like, it is what it is. Like, you know? And even if you don't feel like you do, you just gotta take a second and try and think of something. Like, I know this sounds so stupid, but think about, even if you feel like you don't matter, find something that matters to you in those moments. You know? Find something that really matters to you in those moments, and that will be what keeps you going. That's what I think anyway. Like, sometimes, like, you know, I'm like, you know what? Even though I feel completely shit and I don't want to engage with this, at least The Boys is on in a month's time. I got to at least see that through, you know? At least the PS5's coming out, right? At least I got family and stuff that I need to go and see. At least, like, there's all of this stuff that, like, even if you don't feel like you matter in that moment, there's stuff that matters to you. And ultimately, if there's still something that matters to you, and sometimes nothing matters and you just feel like complete and utter shit, but try sometimes, because it's a lot harder to find what matters about yourself in those moments. Try and find something that you want to hold on for, you know? And it can literally be anything. Like, and in that moment, if you can achieve that, go ahead and do it. You know, like I was feeling absolutely terrible. I believe it was it Wednesday? Yes, I was feeling terrible yesterday, right? And I said, you know what? Fuck it. I'm a order KFC. And I was speaking to Heavy Spoilers. I was speaking to Paul and messaging him and stuff. And that's something that I've learned as well, is being very vocal. Like, being very vocal can help you out as well. And I said, you know what? I'm feeling like shit, X, Y, and Z. I'ma just fucking order a KFC and be at least sad with the KFC. And you know what he said? He said, the Colonel never lets you down. And he never does. He never does. And that's it. You just find that one thing. And even if you feel like you're being selfish and whatever, you just find one thing that you're like, this is going to get me through the day. Fuck it. At least if I get this, I'll be all right. You know, at least if I get this, I'll be okay. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. I've spoke a lot. Gavin, how's it going, Gavin, man? Gavin, big love to you, Gavin. Gavin is someone I've known for years and years and years. I believe it's that Gavin. It is. Should be, right? So, yes. Yeah, true. Think of the upcoming things and the hobbies and the things that keep going. Loving yourself is the hardest thing to do. To be honest, it is. It is. But legitimately, you just try and find that one little thing that even if you don't love yourself at this point in time, well, I love that. I'm going to go do that, you know? And then you find that little bit of enjoyment. And once you find that little bit of enjoyment, you start to build that enjoyment back up, you know? And things start to get a little bit better with your day each time. So, yeah, just be as kind as you can to yourself in those moments, you know, and just find something that will keep you going. That is me for this evening. As I'm gonna say, as I always say, take care of yourselves. Look out for each other, of course. Be fucking kind to yourself, and you know, if there's something that you want to get out of the way, then go ahead and do it. You know, just go ahead and give it a try. And you might not get it this month, you know, but then you try harder next month, you know, and you keep just doing it. And that's really all I got to say, other than thank you to everyone for being a part of this. I know this is very different to everything that I've been doing in recent times, but I felt it was very, very, very important to actually do this today at the start of a new month. And try and raise some people's spirits and stuff, and we try and share our stories, and we try and just give some people that potentially want to stop some inspiration to try and go on and do it themselves, you know, because it's never too early or too late to give it a go. So yeah, I'm going to be, as I said, I will be launching the channel in my Discord for anyone, like the Stoptober Discord. So if anyone just wants to like talk about quitting or anything like that, then make sure that you head on over to that, because then, you know, there'll be someone in there that will reply to you, you know? If you're having a bad day or you don't know what to do or the first steps to take and things like that, there'll be some help in there, you know? And that's all I can really do. So, yeah, big love to everyone. I'm signing out. I'm gonna put up the Stoptober thing on the way out. There we go, man.